If they were looking for call you a shill, they're gonna find a reason to. I get called a gay Jew shill on this show fucking constantly, dude. And no matter what I do, no matter what guest I have on, somebody's looking for a reason.
Some dude made a video calling me a shill. It was on your show where he would freeze frame me doing like signs. Go, look, he's Illuminati. I'd be like freeze frame, like, look, he's doing it right in your face.
See, I'm saying that guy's got that's the far end, and I'm saying talking about that in generality, but those crazy people are less crazy than the establishment that wants us to believe all their garbage. Like,
right.
Let's talk about the establishment themselves.
You know what? You're right. You know what, Alex? Let me take that back a little bit, because there are some conspiracy theorists that take it way too fucking far. Because I know I'm not a fucking shill. No one's approached me. I don't know about anybody else, but I know that. So
I'm too broke to be a shill.
When people start accusing me of being,
couldn't be truer. People that are shills have good money going on. Not saying Sam's poor, but he probably would be doing a lot better if he was a shill.
a government agent, that's when I go, oh shit, I get it now. There are truly psychotic people out there that are just, they're, right?
You've seen the movie, The Number 23?
No, I haven't.
It's Jim Carrey finds the number 23 in everything. He multiplies it, divides it, just finds it. And when you're looking for it, you'll find it.
Probably fucked his skull because he's totally into fucking a lot of crazy shit. But I want to get into some of the stuff that, you know, there's some people who get upset with you. Some you say, I've heard you a lot talk about Islamic jihadists and the threat they are. But I mean, you and I both know they're on the payroll, right? They're all getting paid for. I mean, the Islamic jihad, we go in there, assassinate all these guys.
That's the thing about Trump. Under the last 50 years, the West has been funding radical jihadists on record with the State Department. Trump is killing that operation. He says we're not going to do that, and he has been trying to stop the funding of the radical Islamists and actually just got rid of ISIS to a great extent. But you're absolutely right. Obama gave them U.S. military bases in eastern Iraq. No, in Western Iraq, to invade Syria 6-7 years ago. The whole Arab Spring was staged. Google, Facebook all helped. They had Piers Morgan on TV going,
he's a piece of shit.
Oh, there's a liberation of Egypt, a liberation of Syria by actual Al-Qaeda/ISIS, same group, murdering and killing people in mass. And it's true. Under one government in Israel, and I'm not anti-Israel, but I'm anti-Israel doing that, they created Hamas. And then Obama's been caught funding those groups. So what happens is Israel wanted to counter Hezbollah, that's real and funded by Iran. So they created Hamas, who became a real terror group, but funded and protected by Israel for the first 20 years, got funded in the 70s to be a counterbalance so that they could break up the power of Hamas in the so-called occupied territories.
So, but when we talk about this threat of Islamic jihadists, it's like if we want to stop it, we should just cut off the fucking paychecks, right? I mean, I get really worried when we demonize an entire group of people.
Okay, well, let me get this.
Okay, go for it.
Here's the deal. I agree. Global criminals inside our governments, not the whole governments, but criminal groups, are funding radical Islam. There's 1.8 billion Muslims. That's 1,800,000,000. There's more Muslims than Chinese and Africans combined, okay? Okay. And they're taught everything in Islam is the house of Islam.
Okay.
This is the Quran. Everything outside the house of Islam is the house of war. And Muhammad was a warlord.
Okay.
Okay. And so you can have moderate Muslims. They're called heretics.
Yeah, I know that.
But the mainline Muslim system wants to drive out and take over and by the sword make everyone submit. It's patriarchal. It totally enslaves women. And the left's allied with it because it's anti-Western. And so the plan was destabilize the Middle East, put in radical Muslims.
There we go.
And then turn them loose to overwhelm Europe and the U.S., then have a clash of civilizations, and then have a giant World War III with the Muslims that kills the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims. And then Albert Pike's true Illuminati, founder of the KKK plan, which is public, comes into view for the new world government where we worship Lucifer.
There we go, man. I just feel that like we just play this game when we start demonizing. Like for me, dude, I don't think like you hear about it. You know, I've heard you talk about how like this system in Hollywood is demonizing white guys, making all white guys racist. You're not racist. You're Mexicans, but you know you're all. I'm not racist. Aaron's not a racist, right? But it's like when I hear people like, I don't think Muslims hate our freedom. I don't think gays are corrupting youth. I don't think we can go down this line of people.
Sure. Most Muslims actually probably do want to live in the West and not be under it. But the fact is, once Islam gets to a certain percentage, all the Muslim countries are 99%. They don't put up with anybody else once they get to a number because the radicals run it.
Right,
and
but
so,
we assassinate the moderates, right?
No,
we
true.
took out the moderates and we put in the crazy.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's the globalist plan for this clash of civilizations that Dick Cheney wrote about in April of 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses, PNAC. Type in PNAC document. They had it up for like 10 years and took it down. And they said we need 3,000 people dead like Pearl Harbor, 3,000 at 9/11.
Yeah.
And they laid the whole plan out.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right.
I love this. This has been a lot of fun. I want to talk to you real quick about who runs America. Who do you think runs America right now? If you had to go, like, who is in charge? Who's calling the shots right now?
A consortium of old, powerful robber baron families. Some are Chinese, some are British, some are Jewish, some are Mexican, some are...
Mexican?
No, seriously.
I love how Alex for sure knows who runs everything and what's going on. He's so certain, eh?
Come on, man.
Mexico has more billionaires than Switzerland, bro.
Oh, shit.
I'm not bashing Mexico. I'm just telling you.
Carlos
El
Slim.
Chapo,
Wait,
dude.
we have more billionaires than who? I got to remember
In
this.
Switzerland.
Fuck yeah.
El Chapo was a district manager. Can we agree on that one? He
Yes.
was a district manager.
He was
Assistant crew chief.
Yeah, he
That's
was.
right. He
dude.
was exactly. He was the night manager.
Yeah, dude. He was just fucking a
Just like
fucking
Manuel
manager.
Noriega worked for the CIA.
For sure, dude.
So it's all public. That's the thing, is they think we're idiots. And,
Right.
And so here's who runs it. It's powerful interlocking families that have what they call royal roundtable groups. The British set these up. The Royal Institute of International Affairs, that became a CFR here. They have their own councils in Europe. And the same 20 or 30 guys all then sit on the boards of Bilderberg, CFR, Trilateral Commission, and then they put out policies that all the other corporations and banks have to follow, or they get broken up. They get attacked. So there's a global corporate mafia that are mainly scientific dictators who see themselves as technocrats who want to bring in a one world government where they track everything you do
Yes.
to then control the population
Yes.
and bring in this future tyranny. It's going to be a post-human world where they eliminate all humans. They believe their God, Lucifer, tells them they have to kill everyone after the world government's established, and then they will merge with Silicon and become a god. But they have to merge with this god that then comes and collects different civilizations. And the head of the Illuminati at the time was Arthur C. Clarke. So he wrote Childhood's End. That's an allegory for the actual plan transmitted to them interdimensionally by Lucifer.
Now, when you bring up Lucifer, people might think you're nuts. But, and
Listen,
hold on.
believe this. They do.
No. I'm gonna back you up here. I'm gonna back you up
believe
here. Albert Pike wrote the Freemason Bible, right?
Hold on. Has
Wait,
anyone
hold
ever
on.
seen
Let
it?
me
Has
finish
anyone
this.
ever
Let me
seen
fucking
it?
finish
Has anyone
this.
seen it?
Let me
Albert
finish
Pike
this.
wrote it.
Let me finish this.
Okay.
Come on, Gordon.
Fuck. Albert Pike wrote the Freemason Bible, right? Like 1870s or something like that, correct?
Right after the Civil War.
Right? And in there, he says that Lucifer is the Freemason God,
Lucifer
right?
is God.
Now, you might think, has anybody read that? Have you seen it? Well, we had Pat Miletich, who's a former UFC fighter. He's in the Hall of Fame. He was on the show. And I heard he was a Freemason. So I asked him. I said, you're a Freemason, right? He goes, yes. And then I asked him, do you know who Albert Pike is? He goes, of course. And I go, do you know in the Bible, the Freemason Bible he wrote, he said that y'all's God is Lucifer. Now, the correct answer would have been, that's bullshit. That's taken out of context. That would have been the correct answer. But he didn't say that. He said, oh, Lucifer means light. And then from that point on, I shut the fuck up, and I'm like, oh, shit, I don't want to talk about this
Can
no
I just
more.
say something on that?
Right.
So, I mean, if you do some studying a long time ago, there's been a demonization of Mother Earth, which is like, what's the Antichrist? If Christ is God in heaven, the opposite of that is a woman on earth. It's Mother Earth. There's been a demonization of fucking connecting with you around you. There has been this take, which is
So
to me-
Lucifer's cool.
No, what I'm saying is that the
I get what
black
you're saying.
cube of Saturn is probably the real dark arts. What, you know, you have...
Although the Kaaba, the one that...
Yeah, which all that. That's the dark arts. And what they do is they take what is really that and they associate it with something else.
Okay, well, let me break this down.
Okay.
The Bible, what you're getting at is, in the Bible, there's only two contradictory points where it says Jesus is the morning star, and then it also says Lucifer is the morning star. And then you can get into the Mormons or those folks thinking both Jesus and Lucifer are brothers or whatever. The point is that in the real biblical Christian faith. That's not exactly what's going on. Kind of the New Agers say what you're saying, and I understand it. That this whole cosmology of God the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. That's really Saturn. That's the devil. Mother Earth is this, and the left-hand path is feminine, and that's really what Lucifer is. But if you get to what the elites are into, their God says. You've got to get rid of these humans. I'm going to give you eternal life. I'm going to give you technology and this divine code that was given to British scientists in the 1850s. They wrote books. Darwin had visions where he came up with this. He was married to the Wedgwoods and the Galtons and all these families that developed and envisioned DNA, super plans, computers, biometrics 170-something years ago. And what they envisioned, they've now manifest.
Yes.
And they believe they were getting it from spirits.
Okay.
So that's why I say interdimensional.
Are they lizard people?
That's David Icke says all that.
Do you believe that?
I'm not taking hallucinogens. I've never seen this stuff. I'm like an anthropologist or a sociologist or a historian or an archaeologist.
Oh, really? David Icke just says there's lizard people? It's not just him. And Alex knows exactly what lizard people are and the origin of them, too. It's funny he dodged that.
Telling you, the religion of the establishment, none of them are
dark
atheists. They are trying to contact interdimensional beings to get knowledge. And the beings give them advanced knowledge that they can then farm out and then have us build. Okay? Because humans are builders. I don't think these dark entities even came up with this. They've seen it before. There's been other worlds, obviously. So they're trying to repeat something they've done before. They give the basic vague breakdown. We then build it as the real alchemist. We're more advanced than these dark creatures. And
the reptiles.
Well, whatever it is, I'm telling you, the establishment are a bunch of soulless people that have sold their soul for psychopaths, sociopaths. Maybe it's genetic. They could be black. They could be Asian. They could be Jewish. They could be German. They could be Native American. It doesn't matter. There's people that resonate with the darkness, and these entities like Avatar can literally just jack into their bodies at a certain point and control them. So they do rituals to kill kids, to divorce themselves from God, or they do other rituals to poison people in mass, or knowingly ship out factor VIII blood product to millions of hemophiliacs like Bayer did to kill people. And the executives bragged about it because that's their sacrament to their God. They've got to do sins to break their connection from God. They've got to do demonic things to lower their energy down so these beings can then interface with them. So that's why they do these horrible things, is to lower their energy wave so these things can come in at a lower plane. It's kind of like Stranger Things, where it's upside down world.
Stranger Things.
It's upside down world.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes,
They're flipping it.
dude.
That's why everything's upside down, everything's inverted.
So let me ask you something, man. So you believe multiple dimensions and all that stuff. Does that contrast with your fucking Christian faith?
Well, check this out. When you were on Joe Rogan's podcast, a lot of people were tripping out and basically losing credibility for you when you start talking about interdimensional beings and aliens. But you could go on YouTube and watch scientists from CERN talking in front of a bunch of people at CERN talking about how they figured out how to get into. They figured out that there's a whole shitload of dimensions and parallel universes, and they overlap, and they think they can reach into the shadows of these other dimensions and pull things out. They're talking about the shit he's talking about in CERN.
Sure.
They're talking about this at CERN.
What's
Isn't that crazy?
From Tesla. He went on and said
I literally just watched the first movie of Hellboy, the first Hellboy. It's that exactly. They have some sort of a magical person that opens up, it's actually the Nazis, that opens up a gate. It's very, very interesting. Check it out. If you haven't seen Hellboy, check it out.
They did a supercut of these two guys talking pretty much the same exact thing.
Yeah, so I'm backing you up. When
Elon
people think that they make like memes and shit out of all the crazy shit you're talking about, interdimensional beings and aliens and demons, but that's what they're talking about at CERN. The top scientists are talking about that shit.
Well, Eddie, that's exactly it. Like I told you, I'm studying what the superconducting super collider scientists and the cyclotron operators are saying. I'm studying what the top genetic engineers are saying. I'm studying what Elon Musk has said, but I was saying it 20-something years ago because Elon Musk said, I go to these big billionaire conferences and they're all talking about interdimensionals and how it's all a simulation and how they're communicating with these other things. And they take Joe Rogan's show when I'm on, 7 months before, and it's word for word. It isn't that Elon's plagiarizing me or I'm plagiarizing him.
But you
I'm
agree.
telling you what the establishment believes. They don't believe there's no God or there's no energy or there's no dimensions. They don't want the public knowing about it, because when you start thinking about it, it opens up your mind that's designed to know about all that.
I think that they're probably bullshitting and they have no idea how to get to these other dimensions, but they want the money coming in. That's what I think. I don't know. But this is changing the subject a little bit.
No, I'm going to go back to this.
Okay, go ahead.
Change the subject. We could talk for hours about cyclotrons. They've discovered all these new quarks, all these new different particles. They've put them into function. They've created artificial suns in laboratories 40 years ago. They've created black holes in Japan 30 years ago. This is all on video. It's all confirmed. And these cyclotrons, these colliders firing these protons and things into big blocks of lead could create a strangelet. And that's just like in the...
What's a strangelet?
Take like the Star Trek that came out, like the second one a few years ago where Vulcan gets destroyed, and they inject that particle into the planet, and then it just implodes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a strangelet.
Oh,
and so it sinks to the center of the Earth, and then it builds mass until it pulls the whole planet in. It's a type of black hole. And so they could create a strangelet. They could create a black hole. They could create a antimatter explosion, the equations show. And these same equations were German equations from the late 1890s by Max Planck and others that they made classified, and they kind of farmed it out through Einstein, where on boards they were drawing out theoretically uranium, plutonium, and what these things could do to create a chain reaction. So that's why, I mean, I hear what you're saying. They want a bunch of money, but that's called pure research, and it's proven there's something there.
Now, changing subjects a little bit. I follow Q. I follow everything that's going on in Washington, D.C., Russian collusion, hoax, all that shit. But the one thing that scares the shit out of me, Alex, is in the middle of all this shit going on with Russian collusion, all the last 2 years, and Trump and all that, they are spraying the skies with chemtrails harder than ever fucking before. Does that have anything to do with 5G? Are the chemtrails and 5G connected?
Dude, Eddie's so correct about that. The chemtrails have been heavy sprayed since spring started. When everyone's outside, that's when they spray. Watch, guaranteed. Just keep an eye on it. What? Just look up in the skies and notice when it's warmer days, they always spray over the sun every time.
What the fuck is going on? They're spraying every day out here. It's incredible. Like the clouds today, all fake. What's going on with that shit?
Well, can I answer the first question?
Yeah.
That was Q. Q and 4chan and 8chan at first was just somebody playing games. But the whole cosmology that Trump's trying to take power from the Chi-Com globalist takeover, so at least America has bargaining chips, is true. And people at some levels in the government do like the public knowing that there is a move for indictments, there is a move to take the deep state down, because that actually builds the momentum and the belief, kind of like Oprah's secret, that it's going to happen. And now Nunes, the Republican leader, the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, has sent 8 referrals for criminal indictments with the evidence of Comey and Clapper and Brennan. This all happened last Friday.
Yeah, you know what? Q is real.
You're not a Q guy, though, right?
Q is real.
What I'm saying is, it's a bunch of people on there. Some of it's disinfo, some of it's real.
It's disinfo for a reason.
But wait a minute. It turned out being right about Mueller.
Yes.
So far, there was nothing.
Dude, there's so much. Anyways, all right. I follow Q, and everything that's going on right now. Q's been talking about this for a year. All this shit.
You know, I like the fact Q's waking people up.
There's no way it's some fucking. Because look. The mainstream media is pushing hard that Q's a hoax. That should tell you something.
I'll tell you what happened.
That should tell you something.
I thought Q was real.
Q is being fucking buried. The people talking about Q are being buried on YouTube. That should tell you something. Who's YouTube burying? They're burying 9/11 videos. They're burying anti-vax videos. They're burying flat Earth videos. That should tell you something. Why are they the videos they're hiding? There's a reason they're hiding them. So they're hiding Q. They're bashing Q. The mainstream media is constantly bashing Q. All the shit that's going on right now with the Russian collusion hoax, Q's been talking about this whole time. It's right on schedule. But anyways,
well, just to be clear,
fuck that. What's up with all these goddamn chemtrails? What the fuck?
We'll get to that now. I have to finish this. I'm not trying to compete with Q. Here's what happened. We said the Russia collusion was fake. I was under investigation for it. They had congressional hearings with my name. They deplatformed me mainly over saying I was a Russian agent with no proof. So we knew there were indictments coming. We knew that it was criminal. We first told Trump how they were illegally spying on him. So I knew that was open source. I'm saying Q has more credibility now, at least some of the people. The problem was I really respected Dr. Jerome Corsi. He wrote a lot of big books, done a great job. And then he said Q was real. And then he came out and said, no, Q's not real now. And that kind of created this big battle where, because he worked for me, Q started attacking me. So I said, well, they must be bad if they're attacking me. Well, it turns out, of course, he's now suing me.
What?
He's now been doing a bunch of stuff. So I get how I was kind
God
of.
damn, I'd love to be your lawyer, dude.
Okay, so what is going on? What's going on? The fucking heavy chemtrails. Tell me.
Okay, so let's go over it. I was going to plug this in so I can talk to him. I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Okay, all right. Let's grab his wallet so he can't run off real quick.
hey, real quick, before he talks about the chemtrails, punch in John Brennan chemtrails, admits chemtrails. And let's watch that video. It's like 1 minute so people know that the CIA already admitted that chemtrails are real.
Yeah, for sure, dude. We all know it's real. I hate John Brennan.
Look at that. This is John Brennan when he was the director of the CIA. Look at, okay, pause. So first, the idea that the CIA is spraying the skies with metallic particles, that was the craziest tinfoil hat conspiracy theory out there. Like, you were ridiculed if you thought that. The CIA... They think the CIA is spraying the skies with chemicals. Dude, you live by an airport. Yep. That's just condensation. It's just heat in the fucking engine. Yep. You're by an airport. Yep. And so what are the odds that a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that the CIA is spraying metallic particles in the sky, what are the odds that that becomes the exact same theory that's going to save the planet? Because that's what he's going to talk about now. Now, the crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, now the CIA figured out that exact same crazy theory is the theory that's going to save the world from global warming. Isn't that incredible? What are the odds? What are the odds? What are the odds? What are the odds? Astronomical. Play it. We're going to watch John Brennan talk about chemtrails, admitting it in 2016. Watch, blast it.
To collectively as geoengineering.
Rewind it. Turn it up and rewind it.
Could help reverse the one example is
turn it up all the way. All the way. Is that the loudest?
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community. On the technical side, greenhouse gas emission reductions would still have to accompany SAI to address other climate change effects, such as ocean acidification, because SAI alone would not remove greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. On the geopolitical side, the technology's potential to alter weather patterns and benefit certain regions of the world at the expense of other regions could trigger sharp opposition by some nations. Others might seize on SAI's benefits and back away from their commitment to carbon dioxide reductions. And as with other breakthrough technologies, global norms and standards are lacking to guide the deployment and implementation of SAI and other geoengineering initiatives. Now, I could go on and on.
And look at what's right on there, a link to contrails. A link to contrails.
They're literally saying a former CIA guy is full of shit, and that's what they're saying. Yep.
Come on, man.
You guys
That's
are...
John Brennan at CFR. That's the Council on Foreign Relations.
Yeah.
That's the Illuminati. So that's the head of the CIA in front of the Illuminati talking about, that crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Yeah, you know what? It's actually going to save the world, that theory.
Well, I first talked about...
Come on!
The GO...
Come on! People are retarded. You live by an airport. It's fucking condensation. It's fucking condensation. Fucking idiots. You're a fucking idiot.
Well, let me tell folks that, because this is something I do know the answer on, and I'm glad I was going to say the exact same thing you just said. Notice it's John Brennan, the former director of the CIA, at the Council on Foreign Relations, reading off one of the 5 reports they put out in the last decade, saying they want a world government treaty to run the geoengineering that they already have. The Department of Energy spending $5 billion a year with key additives to the jet fuel that then, with the patents that are patented, aerosolize the aluminum dioxides, barium salts, and other things out to, quote, create nuclei in the atmosphere to create the condensation that then blocks rays. So yes, it is condensation, but it's got toxic aluminum dioxide, barium salts, and also different types of radioactive...
Strontium?
Yeah, exactly. In it, this is admitted, and now they've gone to the highest levels of the world government, trying to get every country to have jet fuel makers add these chemicals, just like they had fluoride to the water, at an industrial level to put it all out. And then here's John Brennan, the head of the CIA at the time, saying we want a world government to do this, saying we're already doing it, saying we can save the planet from the made-up global warming, because I'll give you the real reason for them doing it in a moment. And then, absolutely, now whenever I talk about any subject, they put a thing under it saying Alex Jones is fake, none of this is real. So Encyclopedia Britannica is saying, even though he's admitting weather weapons, weather control, geoengineering, terraforming at the Council on Foreign Relations, that I said is the governing body of North America, that's how they really run it, you ask who runs it, there he is at the real governing body, introducing to the public what they've been doing for decades. Here's what happened. In 1992, a group of scientists won the Nobel Prize for coming up with a plan to add these chemicals to the jet fuel, to have it distributed. The pilots don't know, the public doesn't know. So they can have a jet right here with no condensation flying right by the other jet. Yes, there's old-fashioned ice crystals before the 1990s that would dissipate behind it. Now they sit there, they form, they space out for hours. And so here they are doing it, and I talked to the former head of Air Force Weapons Development who ran HARP, Benton K. Parton, 3-star general, and he said at first they were told they were spraying up at the North Pole, because Russia's just right here from Canada and the U.S., because they learned with these over-the-horizon radars, as an early warning, the excuse was, because they always tell the military it's for a good reason, starting in the 70s they were doing it, they would have jets go spray up there, and he was running this program. He said it was an over-the-horizon radar at that point. So a missile launches, you don't have good satellites at the time that can always catch it, but you're firing radar, which is the HARP, to the Aurora Borealis. It creates basically like a lens instantly to see it right as it gets up to like 20,000 feet. So now instead of only having 10-minute warning, you've got like a 20-something minute warning for the missiles coming up.
Okay.
But that was only one use that they told them they were doing it. And that was from the guy that ran it. So let's move
forward. What about military chaff? Same thing, right?
Yeah. Well, that's to stop missiles that are coming up to hit and to confuse the radar.
Yeah, the military spray chaff. That's not a secret. That's metallic particles, right?
Yes. And you'll see weather people going, look, you see the military today, they sprayed chaff, here it is. So here's what we know. There's a multifaceted program. It's over-the-horizon radar. It's also used to kill weather systems, to block rain when it's coming in. You can cause it and make it rain in the ocean instead of, say, on California. Weather weapons. They have a 1979 treaty barring the use of aerosol sprays in high-altitude injections that he mentioned. So we already have a treaty barring it in 1978, passed in 1979. You can type in UN World Treaty on Weather Weapons. You have the Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, in 1998, telling Stars and Stripes at a military press conference, type in Secretary of Defense William Cohen talks about weather weapons and tectonic earthquake weapons and tsunami weapons.
Yes.
And he says, we have them, others have them. In Dubai and everywhere, they're making the desert green. China controls the weather now. Russia controls the weather now. The Doppler radars, I was told this by the engineer putting them in 25 years ago, when I was first getting on air, I thought he was crazy. He goes, listen, we're putting in Doppler radar to, quote, see storms coming in.
Yeah.
He goes, the power's 10 to 20 times what you need. He goes, they're frying the atmosphere and spraying aluminum dioxide out of the planes through their engines to fry it and then to manipulate and burn the atmosphere. So they're burning up the atmosphere. The aluminum then, if you look it up, all over the Western worlds where they've first been doing it, it's 5, 10, 20 times higher than it should be. Plants suddenly can't grow in the dirt because of the aluminum, but Monsanto and others now have aluminum-resistant seeds and plants. So they're spraying aluminum all over the earth.
Ruin everybody else's shit, and they'll have the only ones that can grow.
Yes, and so it's a plant.
I'm assuming if they're doing that to the plants, making them not fertile, it's the exact same thing for people. That's why the sperm count is so low and women can't get pregnant.
And to have weather weapons. So the globalists are mad scientists. So if they can build a weather weapon, they better because somebody else might. And if they can build a seed that only lives in aluminum and that nobody else does, they'll be dominant.
Right.
So this is next level warfare. It's not about tanks. It's not about planes. It's about hydrofluorosilicic acid in your water that lowers your IQ and gives you cancer and lowers fertility. Harvard studies. It's about hitting you with vaccines that don't protect you from the actual pathogen. It actually makes you sick and actually lowers your immunity. They even admit on the insert. It's not about protecting us from the sun. It's about frying the atmosphere and actually making it toxic and worse. It's about killing the soil. It's about total world government. It's about 1 in 35,000 having autism. 30 years ago, now it's 1 in 58. It's about a world exterminus depopulation program being carried out against all of you. And you just heard the CIA head admit it, but they tell you because it's so credible, oh my gosh, it's not real.
So who's the bigger?
But get the mind control. They're because it's the same on Google.
Does it have anything to do with 5G?
Absolutely.
What's 5G?
How does 5G and
Okay.
chemtrails, how do they, how
what
do
is
they
HARP?
connect?
What is HARP? It's an electromagnetic array. I had the also technical director of HARP on one time. This is like 18 years ago. Somebody's got to find it online. Nobody can seem to find it in my archives, but about 18, 19
They're wiping shit off the internet, aren't they?
Well, listen to this. I get a call from an Air Force colonel to my producer. My show is already on about 100 stations, and they said, hey, the director of HARP is a civilian. He'd like to come on, but we're going to control it because he's the civilian director, but the military runs this. He comes on, he goes, Alex, it's all fine, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to have Dr. Nick Magich on anymore. He lived up in Alaska, and his brother's a senator and all that. It was exposing it. But all of a sudden during the break, the colonel pops in and goes, hey, he's going to have to get off because of what he just said. He said on air, oh, it's so fun. We can turn it on at night and ignite the atmosphere into fire. And the head of HARP on my show, mad scientist, said we can ignite the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so you're asking, what is Doppler radar? A high-powered antenna array manipulating the atmosphere. What is 5G? Millions of arrays manipulating the atmosphere. What is HARP? Big antenna. So if you look it up, Dubai, turning the desert green, and then you look up Daily Mail articles and Smithsonian articles, and it's antenna arrays that are actually Doppler. It's the same antenna blasting the sky so that desert particulates then get electrical. They take on water, forming larger nuclei, and it makes it rain. So basically, it's just terraforming, but they don't want us peasants involved in the debate about it. So he all double talk. Brennan said, but other countries are nervous and won't work with us. So we're going to keep it secret that we're already doing it, but I'm here giving you a report that we've already perfected this.
So is he? How treasonous is John Brennan? Is he up there with Benedict Arnold?
I mean, John Brennan and Clapper and all them spied on